Can you imagine an ancient and magnificent city like Turin, the cultural capital of northern Italy, being completely submerged in water after only 48 hours of heavy rain? People were isolated, main roads were cut off, the transportation system was paralyzed, and once gentle rivers suddenly turned into floods, sweeping everything away. What is happening here? And is this the clearest sign that Europe is entering a new era of climate crisis? Let me take a closer look at this story. Not just a weather report, but a wake-up call for all of humanity. Part 1. The situation in Turin. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past 48 hours, the city of Turin, the cultural and industrial capital of northern Italy, has been facing unprecedented floods in recent history. Storm Hans has hit the Piedmont region, bringing with it a torrential rainfall of more than 200 millimeters in just one day. To put this in perspective, this is the amount of rain that is usually only seen in a month, but now it has fallen in less than a morning and an afternoon. What is the result? The familiar streets of Turin have suddenly turned into raging rivers. Many neighborhoods are knee-deep in water. People cannot go out. Cars are abandoned on the streets, floating like boats without a driver. Public transport is almost completely paralyzed. In particular, the A5 motorway, which connects Turin with the city of Aosta, one of the main transport routes in the north, was forced to close completely. The reason was that the floodwaters had overflowed, posing a serious danger to road users. Hundreds of vehicles were stranded on the access roads, and rescue teams had to work through the night to help evacuate people from the danger zone. At the BLS train station, which is the main transit point in the area, all transport activities were suspended. Thousands of passengers were delayed, many unable to return home or to work, creating a chain reaction that affected the surrounding area. And it didn't stop there. Many residential areas around the city center were isolated. Water flooded into homes, damaged property, and caused panic in the community. Residents said the water rose so quickly, within just an hour, that they had no time to prepare or move their belongings. Meteorologists say this is an extreme weather phenomenon, occurring more and more frequently in Europe, especially in recent years. And Turin, a city with a long-standing drainage system built in the 19th century, is completely unable to cope with a modern 21st century downpour. Currently, the city government is deploying all available resources to respond, but no one can be sure that the situation will stop here. Part 2. The risk from the Po River and the authorities' response. Ladies and gentlemen, if we had to point out what is the biggest danger in this natural disaster in Turin, the answer is very clear. It is the Po River, the longest river in Italy, and also the ecological artery running through the heart of this city. Under the direct impact of Storm Hans, the water level of the Po River rose at a dizzying speed. In just a few hours, the water exceeded the alarm level, overflowing to the edge of the embankment. Images recorded by the people and the media show that the water has penetrated deep into the riverside paths, which are places where many people gather to walk and exercise every day. The Marazzi del Po area, a symbol of the peaceful lifestyle in Turin, has been completely blocked. More than just a precautionary measure, the decision to close the riverside area was made by the authorities in the context of a real risk of the embankment breaking. Once the water level exceeds the limit, the consequences will not only be flooding, but also urban flash floods, carrying rocks, debris, and sweeping away everything in its path. The city government immediately raised the warning level to red, the highest level of danger, and issued a clear recommendation. Residents should not leave their homes unless absolutely necessary. Traffic roads near the river are under strict surveillance, with temporary checkpoints and emergency barriers. Rescue teams, including civil defense forces, police, and volunteers, have been deployed throughout the wards, especially in low-lying areas and near the flow. They operate continuously, day and night, ready to evacuate residents if the situation worsens. The people of Turin, accustomed to a peaceful life, are now forced to live in a state of anxiety. Many families have proactively put up sandbags to block their doors. unplugged household appliances, prepared food, water, and spare batteries. At this time, vigilance and community discipline have become the biggest support to help the city overcome the dangerous period. And the question is, will the embankment hold? Will the water level continue to rise? The coming hours will be a pivotal moment when all eyes will be on the Po River, a river that now carries not only water, but also life and danger. Part 3. Regional Impact. It's not just Turin. Other parts of Piedmont, such as the Aosta Valley and Lombardy, are also struggling. The Great St. Bernard Tunnel, which connects Italy to Switzerland, has been closed due to heavy snowfall, disrupting the transport of goods and people. In the province of Pavia in Lombardy, the Seviso River has burst its banks, flooding a series of residential areas. In particular, the old infrastructure, never designed to withstand such extreme rainfall, has become the Achilles heel of the entire region. Part 4. Milan-Rome are not peaceful. Storm Hans has not only hit Turin and the Piedmont region hard, but has quickly spread its devastation to many other areas in Italy, including the two major cities of Milan and Rome. In Milan, Italy's financial and technology hub, all public parks have been closed. The decision was made after many trees showed signs of being uprooted due to strong winds, landslides, and prolonged water seepage. Officials are concerned that if immediate action is not taken, crowded public areas will become places where serious accidents can occur. Meanwhile, the capital Rome, nearly 700 kilometers south of Turin, is not much better. Rescue and civil defense forces here have had to deal with more than 100 emergency situations in just one day. Roofs were ripped off houses by fierce gusts of wind. Trees were blown across roads, and many vehicles were stranded in the sudden floodwaters. Residents of the capital said that the sudden arrival of dark clouds, accompanied by torrential rain, left many people unable to react. The normally bustling streets were reduced to a scene of devastation. Water was flowing on the road, garbage was swept away, car horns and rescue calls were heard non-stop. From north to south, from industrial cities like Milan to the political heart of Italy, Rome's Storm Hans proved that no place is completely safe. Climate change knows no geographical boundaries, and once it hits, it brings chaos and loss of control. Part 5. The bigger problem, the climate crisis alert. While no casualties have been reported so far, the physical and psychological damage is immeasurable. Meteorologists have spoken out. This is a clear consequence of global climate change. This spring in Italy is no longer a season of mild sunshine and cool breezes. It has become a season of floods, unusual snowfalls, and inadequate infrastructure. Soil saturation, overloaded drainage systems, and a lack of investment in natural disaster prevention solutions are making cities like Turin more vulnerable than ever. Part 6. Global Perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening in Turin or Rome is just a small slice of the worrying picture of the global climate. In less than a year, the world has witnessed natural disaster scenarios that far exceed all conventional forecasts. In Canada, a country famous for its cold climate and pristine forests, the most severe wildfire season in the country's history has occurred. Millions of hectares of forest have been burned. Smoke has spread to the east coast of the United States, and New York is covered in toxic smog. In Brazil, the heart of South America, flash floods have suddenly descended on the southern states, sweeping away houses, bridges, and human lives overnight. Meanwhile, in West Africa, millions of people are facing severe drought, causing cracked soil, failed crops, and the risk of food shortages is escalating every day. And now, Europe, seemingly safe and stable, is inundated with floodwaters, from Piedmont to Bavaria, from the Seine in Paris to the Po in Turin. If before, natural disasters were sporadic, cyclical phenomena, now they have become a continuous chain, increasingly dense, unpredictable, and leaving no area on the world map. And the message behind it is clear. Nowhere is safe. No country, rich or poor, developed or developing, can stand outside the climate vortex. The question is no longer, will it happen, but when will it be our turn? And above all, the answer lies not in a weather report, but in the decisions we make today. Part 7. Summary and a call for help. The disaster in Turin, with its floods, its rising rivers, its paralyzed streets, and its people living in fear, is no longer a distant news story. It is a true slice of a world that is changing faster than we can cope. We can no longer call this a natural disaster or unusual change, because when the unusual happens every month, every week, everywhere, it is a new order, a new reality that people must accept and adapt to. But acceptance does not mean giving up, because the worst thing is not the floods or the forest fires, but the silence and indifference of people to the increasingly clear signals from the earth. We cannot leave this responsibility to governments alone, or to distant international conferences. Each individual can start with small actions, using energy wisely, reducing unnecessary consumption, and speaking up when it is necessary to speak up. Today is Turin. Tomorrow it could be your city, your neighborhood, or your own home. Time is running out, but we still have a chance if we start now